New footage just blew up. Foolio's crew and Yungeen Ace going at it right inside the courtroom. Foolio's boys ain't just after Yungeen Ace, though. They're taking out the whole squad.
He's dropping like we might need the devil back. Yungeen Ace,
his boys.
Yeah, been dropping like 6, 7.
Things are heating up, and we've got all the scoop right here, so let's get right into it. When street beef hits the courtroom, bruh, this ain't no Netflix show. This ain't no rap video. This is real life, and it's unfolding in a courtroom where Foolio's people straight up tried to rush Yungeen Ace right in front of the judge, officers, and the DA. You'd think you were watching an episode of Power, but this was real, and the cameras were rolling. The courtroom was supposed to be a place of law and order. Instead, it turned into a battlefield. One of Foolio's affiliates, tight with 1200, his home crew out of Jacksonville, straight jumped out his body when he saw Ace in his camp. What happened next? Full chaos. The video is now blowing up on social media, and everybody from Twitter to TikTok is trying to piece together why this fight went down and what it really means. But let me tell you something. If you think this was just about a scuffle in court, you don't know how deep this war goes. Because this is just the latest chapter in a decade-long street saga filled with bodies, beef, betrayal, and bars. And what's unfolding now in the courtroom? That's the end game. It's Foolio versus Ace. It's Jacksonville versus the justice system. And it's got the whole hip-hop world shook. So let's take it back, because what you're about to see is how a deadly rap beef spirals so out of control, the state of Florida is now handing out death penalties like parking tickets.
Well, yeah, Foolio just got killed on his 26th birthday in Tampa, which is a couple hours from his home city.
Foolio got murked on his birthday, 26 years old. He threw a party, promoted it on IG like it was sweet, and didn't even realize the wolves were watching. And not just watching, it was on his neck. Real quiet, real patient. The suspects, 4 dudes and a pregnant girl, followed him all across Tampa, club to club, sliding behind the scenes, waiting for the green light. They tracked his every move off the phone in the whip. That ain't paranoia. That's how ops move in 2024. And now, those 5 folks are all locked up on first-degree murder. One dude's still on the run, but the rest? They're getting hit with the ultimate punishment. According to the state, Florida is actively going for the death penalty for 3 of them. Now, how wild is that? Shorty is out here plotting on folks while carrying life inside her. And when things go sideways, she's the first to start talking. Because what really had folks scratching their heads was the timing. While all this was going down, Yungeen Ace was literally in the middle of a sit-down with DJ Academics, laughing, drinking Don Julio, and cracking jokes. And guess what?
The exact moment. Everybody who got locked up for the murder, the 3 simultaneous arrests, happened exactly when he's talking to me.
At the exact same moment Ace was clowning on Cam, the shooters were getting kicked in their front doors. Talk about a plot twist. And yo, this wasn't some dumb random murder. This was a mission. Dude even texted, "My thirst is finally quenched," after Foolio got hit. That's not just disrespect, that's evidence. It was get back for a previous killing, and everybody knew it. See, Foolio and Ace, they wasn't just rappers beefing on wax. They had real blood on both sides. Grave desecrations, songs mocking the dead, straight demon time. There's even footage of one of Foolio's boys peeing on the grave of someone Ace was close to. And yes, it's real. So when Ace heard Foolio got dropped, he didn't pause. He celebrated.
Right after Foolio got killed, Young and Ace are dropping diss songs.
He went hard, man.
And from Jake's point of view, he thinks that Ace has nothing to do with it, which is why he's doing all that.
He dropped not 1, but 2 songs dissing Foolio days after the murder. He was flexing with Don Julio, grinning like it was his birthday, not Foolio's death day. And the internet, they ate it up. But you know who wasn't smiling? The feds. Because see, while rappers was dissing on beat, detectives were building a RICO. According to DJ Academics, the evidence in this case is so ironclad, even the suspect's lawyers are like, yeah, go ahead and pick a prison. And the kicker, the youngest shooter is just 18 years old. This kid was in Fortnite lobbies at 12. Now he's possibly facing death row. What happened in those 6 years? This is what happens when young dudes chase clout harder than they chase peace. Meanwhile, Alicia, the pregnant girl, thought she could finesse her way out. She's already cooperating. According to multiple reports, she asked for a speedy trial, a big sign she's ready to cut a deal. Trap Laura Ross broke it down here. But here's where it gets twisted. She's trying to save her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance, while throwing the other shooters under the bus. Florida ain't buying it. They said, you were part of the plot. You go down too. This ain't a movie. This ain't a Bonnie and Clyde remix. This is capital murder. And now one of Foolio's affiliates tried to square up with Ace inside the courtroom. Why? Because with all this pressure, with all these lives ruined, with death row on the table, somebody had to snap. That fight was payback. That fight was rage. That fight was the streets spilling into the system. And Ace, still unbothered.
It's like it's 6 to 8 of us that's in ATK. He's like, anyone else are affiliates but they're not ATK.
He says ATK ain't even a gang, just a crew, only 6 people strong. The rest, just riders, which means if a Rico comes, Ace might skate. But let's keep it a buck. This whole thing's gotten too loud. With courtroom fights, death penalty motions, and a viral beef that left one rapper dead, it ain't gonna end with a few convictions. This case is setting a precedent. Just like with FBG Duck in Chicago, just like YSL in Atlanta, the feds are watching, and Florida's about to make an example. The hit that shook the culture. To really get why that Jacksonville courtroom went completely off the rails, like some wild stuff you see on WorldStar, you gotta rewind to the early morning hours of June 23rd, 2024. Charles Andrew Jones II, known to everybody in the culture as Foolio, got smoked in an ambush at a Home 2 Suites parking lot in Tampa, Florida, while turning up for his 26th birthday. What was supposed to be a night of popping bottles and celebrating life became instead a carefully orchestrated body drop that exposed just how ruthless modern gang warfare has become, and showed the lengths these young killers will go to settle beef and get their lick back. The chain of events leading up to Foolio getting his wig split read like some tragic hood movie script full of bad decisions and missed red flags that should have told him to move different. On June 22nd, 2024, Foolio had thrown a party at an Airbnb, but the Jakes shut it down because too many people showed up. When the police shut down his original birthday turn-up, Foolio made the move that would ultimately get him sent to the afterlife. He relocated the party to that Home 2 Suites hotel near the University of South Florida. What this young brother didn't know, what he couldn't have possibly peeped, was that his ops had been tracking his every move like some certified predator stalking their next meal, just waiting for the perfect moment to slide and catch him lacking.
Like, that's not gonna happen. Someone's gonna tell them, hey, he's so-and-so, hop in your car, go get him. And that's what happens almost every time.
In the early morning hours of June 23rd, around 4:40 a.m., Foolio got caught slipping in that hotel parking lot when 3 masked shooters crept up on his whip, letting off shots with assault rifles and handguns, sending Foolio to meet his maker and wounding 3 others. The surveillance footage from the scene, which would later become the prosecution's ace in the hole, captured the ice-cold precision of this. Hit job. These weren't some amateur corner boys acting off emotion. This was a coordinated military-style operation designed to eliminate a specific target with maximum efficiency and send a clear message to anybody else thinking about testing their gangster. The evidence that investigators would dig up in the weeks following Foolio getting his lights turned off painted a picture of premeditation so thorough, so methodically planned, that it had even seasoned street veterans and law enforcement shaking their heads at the level of organization these young killers displayed. Multiple sources, including surveillance cameras from the hotel, a Tesla whip, and other spots, captured critical moments before, during, and after the shooting. That Tesla camera footage, in particular, was described as crystal clear, providing high-definition visuals that would prove instrumental in identifying these shooters and their rides, essentially creating a digital paper trail that these killers couldn't escape from, no matter how hard they tried. Video from the Home 2 Suites parking lot shows 3 masked gunmen creeping up on Foolio's black Dodge Charger at approximately 4:37 to 4:38 a.m. on June 23, 2024. One shooter let that chopper sing at point-blank range, while 2 others used assault-style rifles equipped with mesh bags to catch shell casings, a detail that showed the level of planning and street intelligence involved in this operation. The footage captures Foolio's whip trying to burn rubber and escape, hitting a curb and catching more hot ones, painting a heartbreaking picture of a young brother's final moments as he desperately fought for his life in what would be his last battle. But that surveillance evidence went way deeper than just the moment when Foolio got his number called. It showed a whole night of hunting and lurking like some real predator type deal. Surveillance from teasers, where Foolio was getting his party on earlier that night, shows a Chevrolet Cruze driven by Chance and Andrews pulling up at 2:23 a.m. Isaiah Chance Jr. is caught on camera on his phone, allegedly coordinating with Sean Gathright, who rolled up in a Chevrolet Impala with Rashad and Davion Murphy. This footage proved that these suspects had been plotting and tracking Foolio throughout the entire night, showing that this wasn't no spur-of-the-moment move, but rather a carefully planned hunt that spanned multiple locations and several hours of straight stalking. After leaving teasers, Foolio hit up an after-party at Truth 18, which got promoted on social media, with surveillance showing that Cruze and Impala tailing Foolio's crew like some real hunters. The level of surveillance and tracking revealed in this evidence was chilling in its thoroughness and street professionalism. These killers had basically turned Foolio's birthday celebration into their personal hunting expedition, using his own social media posts and public movements against him like a deadly weapon. The investigation that came after would expose a whole network of connections that tied this body drop directly to the long-standing beef between rival Jacksonville sets. The Tampa Police Department, working hand in hand with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, identified 5 suspects involved in the murder: Sean Gathright, Alicia Andrews, Isaiah Chance Jr., Rashad Murphy, and Davion Murphy. Each of these individuals got hit with premeditated first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder charges, which carried the death penalty under Florida law and showed that the state wasn't about to play no games with these young killers. The role of each suspect in this deadly plot started to unfold as investigators put together the pieces like some complex street jigsaw puzzle. Alicia Andrews was allegedly involved in tracking Foolio's location, possibly by setting him up under the pretense of some romantic rendezvous. This detail added a particularly grimy element to the case, suggesting that these killers were willing to use Foolio's personal relationships and weaknesses to achieve their murderous goal. Some real snake behavior that shows how dirty and treacherous these street politics can get.
They drove 3 hours, 2 separate cars.
And they all got caught.
The sophistication of the evidence collection in this case spoke to both the high-profile nature of the crime and how modern investigative techniques have evolved in this digital era. The high-quality footage, particularly from that Tesla and hotel cameras, allowed the Jakes to identify the suspects' whips and track their movements. License plate readers and phone data further connected the vehicles to the suspects, creating an almost inescapable web of digital evidence that would prove crucial in locking these fools up and building the prosecution's case.
You got the Teslas that are acting like sentries with 360 camera. It's the clearest camera ever, 4K.
Perhaps the most incriminating was the digital evidence that painted a clear picture of these suspects' mindset and street motivation. Phone records showing Chance communicating with Gathright during the tracking phase, combined with surveillance, established a conspiracy among the crew. One particularly damning piece of evidence emerged in the form of text messages, with Rashad Murphy allegedly texting, "I'm coming home. My thirst is finally quenched," after the body drop, suggesting that this killing was viewed as the completion of a long-awaited revenge mission rather than some spontaneous act of street violence. The connection to the broader gang warfare became even more obvious as investigators dug deeper into these suspects' backgrounds and street affiliations. Court documents highlighted that the ATK and 1200 gangs, which these suspects claimed were sworn enemies of Foolio's 6-block set. This wasn't just about individual beef or personal grudges. It was about a systematic war between organized street crews that had been dropping bodies and claiming young lives for years.
Someone may even get the death penalty.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know what people be thinking, but if that case doesn't tell you that it's almost impossible. If there's a popular series called How to Get Away with Murder, then you can't. Not no more.
The prosecution's case got even stronger with the recovery of physical evidence that tied these suspects directly to the crime scene, like DNA on a murder weapon. Investigators found bullets in one of the murder weapons stashed at the suspects' cribs, along with ballistic evidence linking the guns to the shooting scene. These suspects had basically created their own incriminating evidence museum, keeping trophies from their crime that would ultimately seal their fate and prove that even the most calculating street killers make rookie mistakes that get them caught up. As the evidence piled up and the arrests started rolling in, the true scope of this street conspiracy became crystal clear to everyone watching. This wasn't just another hood murder. It was the culmination of years of plotting, hatred, and preparation, executed with a level of sophistication that showed how gang warfare has evolved in the social media age. The case would ultimately serve as a wake-up call about how modern technology, while giving criminals new tools to coordinate their moves, also creates an almost inescapable digital footprint for law enforcement to track them down and build bulletproof cases that will put them under the jail. The war that never ends. ATK versus KTA beef. When you're talking about the ATK versus KTA war, you ain't just talking about some regular street beef or rap rivalry. You're talking about a full-blown conflict that's been tearing Jacksonville apart for damn near a decade, claiming young lives left and right and turning whole neighborhoods into war zones where mothers scared to let their kids walk to the corner store. This beef runs so deep, so toxic, that it couldn't even be contained by courtroom walls, and that viral fight footage was just the latest chapter in a bloody story that started way before Foolio got his final send-off and will probably continue long after these trials wrap up. The conflict between 6-block, associated with the KTA crew, and ATK has been a well-documented gang rivalry rooted in Jacksonville, Florida's drill rap scene. But this wasn't no manufactured industry drama for album sales and social media clout. This was real, visceral hatred that's been festering like an infected wound for years, destroying families, claiming lives, and turning entire blocks into battlefields where young soldiers been dropping like flies since 2017. The roots of this deadly conflict stretch all the way back to when everything changed with with one tragic incident that lit the fuse on this powder keg of violence. The rivalry turned violent in May 2017 with the murder of Zion Brown, a 19-year-old cousin of Julio Foolio, in a drive-by shooting on Jacksonville's west side. DeAndre Jaquez Thomas, who was rolling with Yungeen Ace's crew, got locked up and charged in connection with that body, though Ace himself never caught a case for it. This incident is widely considered the match that started this whole deadly cycle of get-back between KTA and ATK, but the real escalation came in 2018 when the streets got even bloodier and the beef reached a whole new level of savagery. In June 2018, the feud intensified when Yungeen Ace and 3 others were ambushed in a car after celebrating Ace's brother's birthday at a restaurant in Jacksonville's St. John's Town Center. That mass shooting left Ace's brother, Trayvon Bullard, Royale Devon Smith Jr., and another young brother dead, with Ace as the sole survivor after taking 8 shots. This hit, attributed to KTA affiliates, was seen as retaliation for Zion Brown's murder, and it set off a chain reaction of violence that still ain't stopped. What made this beef even more toxic was how Foolio amplified the conflict through social media and music, basically pouring gasoline on an already raging fire. Foolio mocked the victims on social media, including wearing a t-shirt with images of the deceased and posting taunts that had the whole city talking. His 2018 song Voodoo claimed he had put a curse on Ace and his crew, further fueling the hatred. In response, ATK members, including Ace, began using their music to target KTA, setting a pattern of diss tracks and social media provocations that would define this beef for years to come. The year 2019 marked a particularly bloody period in this conflict, with multiple shootings and murders that showed just how deep this war had gotten. In February 2019, Adrian Gaynor Jr., a 16-year-old KTA rapper known as Bibby and Foolio's brother, was killed at Hilltop Village Apartments in northwest Jacksonville. ATK rapper Tsu, whose real name is Hakeem Robinson, was later charged with second-degree murder in this case, and his album Bibby Out featured images of fallen KTA members as a taunt, showing how disrespectful this beef had become. The streets were so hot that innocent people started catching bullets meant for gang members. Damon Rothermel, a 50-year-old bystander, was killed by a stray bullet during a shootout on Emerson Street in January 2019. Abdul Robinson Sr., alleged leader of ATK, was charged with accessory after the fact for helping a suspect flee, highlighting how this feud was affecting innocent civilians who had nothing to do with the street politics. By 2020, the violence had reached such extreme levels that law enforcement started calling it one of the deadliest gang wars in Jacksonville's history. On January 15, 2020, KTA rapper Charles Quentin McCormick Jr., known as Lil Buck, was killed in an Arlington shopping plaza. Tsu, motivated by the death of his brother Boss Goon and other attacks on ATK, was charged with second-degree murder. His social media activity, including posts bragging about the killing and lyrics in the song ATK War reenacting the hit, provided evidence for his arrest. The beef gained national attention in 2021 due to viral diss tracks that glorified the violence and put Jacksonville's gang war on the map. Released on April 16, 2021, Who I Smoke by Yungeen Ace, Spinnabins, Fast Money Goon, and Wappa Wit to Choppa sampled Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles. The song named and disrespected deceased KTA members, including Bibby, Techie, and Lil 9, and amassed over 18 million YouTube views by May 2021. The track was criticized for its provocative nature, but showed just how intense this ATK-KTA war had become. Foolio retaliated with When I See You remix, referencing the 2018 shooting of Yungeen Ace and his brother. The music video showed Foolio dancing in a graveyard with images of ATK victims, further escalating tensions, and showing that neither side was backing down from this deadly conflict. Sheriff Mike Williams described social media as the gang graffiti of the 1980s, noting how platforms like YouTube and Instagram fueled the conflict by allowing rappers to taunt rivals publicly. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office launched Operation Wrap Up in 2019 to target gang members glorifying violence online, leading to several arrests. In 2023, tensions reached a boiling point when Foolio and members of 6 Block crossed a line that even the streets considered unforgivable. About 7 months before Foolio's death, he and members of 6 Block and Bully Gang filmed a music video at a cemetery, posing in front of Royale Devon Smith Jr. TS burial site. This act provoked ATK and led to renewed violence, with the death of BG Ibezi, a 6 Block member, following shortly after. Following BG Ibezi's murder, ATK rapper Antonio Tilly Jr. released a song snippet mocking the fallen soldier. On October 6, 2023, Tilly and an innocent Uber driver, Bryant Grund, were killed in a shooting